Alright, so welcome to the pre-video for this video. Basically I tell you what you're getting in store. So in this video I will be covering a new module to add to a multi-sensor. It's called the Ld2410. So I'll get into what that is inside the video, but I wanted to show you the product. This is a much smaller version than the multi-sensor that I covered in the last video, but you will still need the multi-sensor video in order to understand this video. Okay, so that's a little disclaimer. So you would, in that video I cover how to build the bigger one. This new module will work in both. It is for presence sensing inside your home. Okay, so alright, other than that, there's the build. We're only going to be looking at this one little module here in this video, but it is amazing. Wait till you see what this thing does. Alright, in the last episode we covered the multi-sensor. Okay, so what I want to do is have a little bit of an add-on to the multi-sensor. I finally got some packages from China and I have been testing them out, and oh man, do I have a really good sensor for you guys. It's just so good. So this is by far probably my favorite sensor now. I have to order a whole bunch of these and spam them across my house. So this is the Ld2410. Okay, look how small it is. It's so cute, right? So here's a mechanical pencil and here's that. So it's pretty small. Here's a AAA battery next to it. Small. Alright, so the 2410 is a true presence sensor in my humble opinion. It works on the principle of having frequency modulated sawtooth radar come at you, and then it bounces off you as a person. Okay, which is kind of much better than having it radiate from all angles, and I would say that the range of it is pretty nice too, because it's 6 meters. So it comes out like this. Let's say it has an angle like this. Okay. So when you mount it in a box or something, you're going to be mounting it probably against a wall is what I got, and it works out quite well. So that when it's mounted on the wall, it's facing like this, and this is facing out. This thing doesn't even have to be on the surface of anything. You can put it inside the box. So in the last episode, I showed you that how to make the multi-sensor, and I mounted everything on the outside of the box. I mounted one of these on the outside of the box, and this thing is so strong. This is good for if you want to get the max strength out of it, though. My living room is quite huge, so I did mount it on the outside of the box there, and it did do a good job. But for a small bedroom that's like maybe 10 by 10, you definitely want to mount this on the inside of the box, or a small bathroom, definitely inside the box. So, one of the things that we do have to cover tonight is how to implement this onto the multi-sensor. So this is an add-on video to the multi-sensor, and it shows you how to add this to it. But one of the things that I am going to show you is how to test this, because I feel that the quality is 1 out of 3 is kind of weird. Okay, and it's not really weird. It's just some are stronger than others, because I have the one in the living room. It wasn't as fussy as the other one, so I got 3 of them. I put one in my living room, and it's awesome. The second one I made, I was kind of frustrated because it was always on, no matter what. And I found out that it was just super sensitive. So if you mount it just further back in the box or inside a box, it tones it down quite a bit. And then, so I'll show you how to test it out to see how fussy it is. Okay. But there is no dial. There's no dial on them. There's no way to turn them down. They are, ready for this? $5 to $8. Okay, so you can buy these all day long on AliExpress, and that's probably where you're going to end up getting them. I do have a good link from AliExpress that shipped them within probably about 2 weeks, which isn't bad for AliExpress. There's two variations. There's a variation without this thing, and you are going to wish you never ever not bought the one with this, because this is the one you want. You want this, okay? You want this to come with it, because these headers are, I think, 0.8s, and these are really small, okay? If you're a master at soldering, I mean like super awesome solderer, you'll be fine. But we're talking like, yeah. Wow, look at my hands. They are trash from acid and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I work with some crazy chemicals. Okay. Nice. So, yeah, that's a pretty small header. So don't buy it and try to solder that unless you're like super pro. Alright, well, first off, to test this out, you're going to need, and you don't have to test this, to be honest with you. I'm just making the video to show you how to test it, and then I'll show you how to put it on ESP Home on Home Assistant, because there's literally no documentation on this, and every video that you come across, they will glance over the fact that it goes into Home Assistant, but they won't show you how to do it. So I will promise you, you will have a working sensor that is a presence sensor for $5 to $8 in Home Assistant that works 100% of the time, and I will not glance over the installation. So we're going to need this, a breadboard, okay? Some way to power it, so you just need between 5 and 12 volts, okay? 5 and 12 volts. You're going to need the header, which the header goes on like this. Okay, you see this pin? That? Okay, that is where the positive goes. So the positive goes on this side of this. And you can see the red. So just put the red just like that. If I can get it to focus on that. So here's this, here's that red wire. So it goes positive, negative, RXTX, and then out. We're not using the RXTX, to be honest with you. I have no need for an RXTX. What that will do, it will gauge the movement of an object too. So in other words, I could throw something at this and it would tell me how fast it's going and all that good stuff. So it's got a lot of features, but for what I'm using it for, I'm not using that. You know what I mean? I don't care if somebody's running down the hallway unless I programmed Home Assistant to say slow down, or by a pool maybe. That'd be kind of cool. You know, please don't run next to the pool. That would be kind of neat. But all I'm doing is using the power and the out, and we're going to be making it into a binary sensor. Alright, the other things that you're going to need just to test it out is these type of headers. Okay, they're male. Okay, so you just need 3 of these. Usually people have these. I have a bajillion of these things. I'll put a link to them on the link below. So we're going to use gray as the data cable. Okay, so white is going to be positive, so I just link this together. Black is going to be my ground. and then gray is going to hook up to the blue. Okay, the blue pin is the out. So the blue pin is negative at first. Okay, so it goes naturally negative by nature. And when there is a presence detected, then it goes positive. You're also going to need a sacrificial LED. The reason I say that is because I'm not even concerned about hooking up a resistor to this, because yeah, it's like 3 volts, and it's not a very strong 3 volts. It doesn't have to be. It's like a data 3 volt. So this is a breadboard power supply. So rather than have something hooked up like a battery, all this is doing is supplying 5 volt to this rail and 5 volt to this rail. This is put out by Elgu. I did a whole series of how to use this along with electronics. I highly suggest going to watch my electronics course on YouTube. It's really good. I go through a lot of components, and I'm still adding to it. I just needed a break. Alright, so we're going to hook this up to positive, negative. By the way, this is 5 volt, and the amp can go as high as 2 amps, to be honest with you. That's what I've been running them at. But I'm pretty sure you can run them at it's 70 milliamps, all it really needs. But there is a good, I think, 3 volt regulator on these, so it will tame it down for you. If you look on this chip right here, that's your regulator. Okay, so now got my positive, got my negative, okay, got my little module. So now what I'm going to do is mount an LED on the negative rail. So if you're not sure what that is, the long leg is positive and the short leg is negative. Okay, so you put the short leg in the negative rail. So it looks like that. Okay, and then you mount your blue wire right here. Now it's going to turn on, of course, because I'm here. Okay, and then what I do is I take this little light and I point it like at the wall, and then I gotta leave the room for a little bit of time. Now, as I said, these things are kind of finicky when you first start them. They're not going to reset as fast, and then they get better and better and better. So I just want to so I'll zoom out here, show you my little digs. Ignore that mess. Sign of genius. Okay, there we go. So just kind of so it's pointing towards the door. Alright, so I should be able to now leave the room, and it will go off. Oh, and I gotta turn these lights off so I can see if it happens. And there it is. That was fast, actually. No, so this is a good sensor. So this one operates really well. Oh, it's kind of cool lighting, right? Okay, so this one operates very smoothly, very smoothly. So what else is needed, though, is a pull-up resistor. Okay, so luckily, the ESP32 has a pull-up resistor in its code. So again, you're going to have to watch the previous video I will show you the schematic and how I implement this in and what pin I attach it to and how to import the code. But you are still going to have to watch that video in order to fully understand how to add a sensor to the multi-sensor. Okay? Alright, so let me augment the code or the schematic and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so here is the schematic for the setup for the Ld2410. So basically there's only 3 wires that need to be hooked up for this thing. You're going to run the positive to your 5 volt. This is including the 5 volt that I showed in the multi sensor that is hooked to the AC/DC power supply. Then your ground can be hooked up to a ground over here or ground over here. It doesn't really matter which ground you hook it up to. And then your last wire is the data out, as shown in the first part of this video where I had it hooked up to an LED, and that is hooked up to D25. Now the reason on D25 is because it's the one not taken up by anything else. So it's just on this side. It's pretty easy to hook up, and it supports a pretty good pull-up resistor on it. So, alright, so that's it. So the pull-up resistor, what's that? Well, it just basically makes it so that when it is exactly positive, it's positive, and when it's exactly negative, it's negative. Okay? There is no in-between or flickering or causing the data to be interrupted via binary ones and zeros getting in there too fast. So when it's on, it's on. When it's off, it's off. There's just a resistor in place that makes it so that it's a complete 1 and a complete 0. Okay? There's other technical terms for a pull-up resistor, but when you're looking at data, that's probably the easiest way to explain it. That you want a 1 for being on or a 0 for being off, but you do not want 1 1 1 0 0 0 1 1. So you don't want that random fluctuation of ones and zeros too quickly, or to spit out more than 1 1 or 2 zeros. Okay, just 1 1 1 0. So that's what a pull-up resistor can do for you, and that's handled in code. I'll show you how that works. So for right now, this is the schematic, and I will put a link to this as a PNG in the video. So I'll call MultiSensor version 2. Alright, so let's go into the YAML and look at how you would implement this in ESP Home. Okay, to implement the Ld2410 into Home Assistant, first you would make the multi-sensor, or you wouldn't have to make the whole multi-sensor if you just want this one sensor into your ESP Home, but you would have to watch the other video to understand what ESP Home is and to put a sensor into it, if that makes sense. So that's what the series is all about, is to go back to the one video, and the last video was, well, they're numbered, so just look at the number, one less than this number, and you're good to go. I'll put a link to the video below where I show you what ESP Home is with the multi-sensor and everything, but there is just a small snippet of code to add in order for the Ld2410 to work. And it is kind of tricky sometimes. This one is. It's not that tricky, but so it's a GPIO pin. Okay, so remember the spacing is absolutely in peril here. I'll put this code below also. Okay, and I'll give it to you in a way where the spacing is correct. So the platform is a GPIO pin. Okay, the pin is, in this case, I had number 23 on my bathroom one, so I just explained in this one that it was hooked up to 25. Okay, both are correct. Both are correct. If you're having this big multi-sensor, I would hook it up on 25. In this case, I only have a small sensor with a PIR, which is this one and this one, and I do not have these in my bathroom. Just don't need them. So I use 23. And then it's an input. Okay, we have to specify that it's an input. That way we could specify the next one, which is it's a pull-up. Okay, again, that will keep it so the data isn't corrupted by a random 00 or 11. Now, what you call it is up to you. It doesn't really matter. You can call this your garage, person, whatever. The FMCW is the type of radar, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever's in this quote, you can call it banana sandwich. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And then the device class is presence. Okay, that way it's home or away. So this is the only bit of code to get that sensor to work. Alright, so I've saved this in two different ways for you. Well, just one different way, and I'll explain how you can do it if you just wanted this one sensor. Okay, let's say you wanted to make the entire multi-sensor with this sensor in it. Okay, if you wanted to build the beast, this thing, okay, and you wanted to add that into it, okay, you would go to the link below and you will download a thing called Super Sensor 2.0. Okay, you would watch the previous video and just use this one instead of the 1.0. That's it. Simple, right? Let's say you wanted to use just the one sensor. Maybe you just got a Home Assistant and you just wanted to see this away and home thing work. Okay, so that is just taking this snippet of code, okay, and add it to your ESP Home. So if you're already familiar with ESP Home, you can just grab this part of the actual code. So again, you would just make a copy of this, and then you can do whatever. Just watch your spacing. Okay, it's very important that you get the spacing right. This is spaced correctly, and don't add any cursor, character returns, or anything for that matter in here. Cool. You'll know you have it absolutely correct if, let's say, you were in ESP Home. And you were down here below, and you had like one little spacing off. See that squiggle? That squiggle says you're screwed, and there's a kink in your line. Well, what you do is you follow the end of the kink. Okay, so this is the start of the kink, okay, and it ends at the D. So the D is the problem, not up here. Welcome to YAML. So if I put a space there, notice that it goes away. Alright, and there's space in tabs. So there's a difference between the two, and it's very fussy. So I would highly suggest, again, just play with it. YAML's not too difficult, but it will make you want to scream for C or Python any day of the week. I don't know who made this, to be honest with you, but YAML is. I don't want to get those YAML enthusiasts out there like mad, but I would say this is the worst language ever. But I guess that's what it is. You know what I mean? It is kind of fun that it's the worst language ever, though, because when you get it, you feel like a rock star. You're like, oh my gosh, the spacing, really, the spacing. And you're so concentrating on like the spelling of stuff, and usually it's the spelling of stuff and the capitalization of stuff and everything else in every other language. But in this language, it's just spacing, and that's what makes it so infuriating. So if you have never written anything in Python or C or C++, you'll know that what I'm talking about, or Java for that matter. Yeah, you'll love this language. Alright, sweet. So anyway, there's the code, and that's how you use it. You just copy a little bit of snippet if you want the thing, or if you want to build the entire thing, you watch the previous video, and you just say, oh, I want superversion sensor 2 instead of 1. Cool. All links are below. Just a reminder, again, get the one with the header wires. The link on AliExpress had 29,000 of them available. Once those 29,000 available are gone, the link will no longer work, and you'll be expected to find your own Ld2410 on AliExpress. Alright, so once you program your ESP Home module with that code, you will get, of course, your sensor. And your sensor actually shows up under devices, and it shows up in here. And then when you click on it, it'll say configure. So you have to, it looks like this little icon right here. You hit configure, and then it goes into your mass ESP home if you have more ESP homes. So in this case, I have a whole bunch of ESP homes. Little feelers out there in the house. And that one looks like this. You'll have one or two entities depending on what code you use or how many entities that you put in there. So the one that you're looking at right now is this one, the bathroom FMCW. So there's nobody in the bathroom right now, but if there was, it would say home. And what's really nice is, yeah, you can put that in, say, living room. So here's the living room FMCW. This is the one that's mounted on the outside. Cool. And in this case, you can also program, let's say this room was tied into like a heat unit. You can run an automation that says, hey, only when there's somebody in this room, you can then turn on the heat. Automations are pretty easy, and all these are really documented in the entire series I have here on YouTube, like how to launch automations, and I show you some examples on how to program an automation based upon already a schema of PIR, which is turning on the lights very quickly, and then the presence in a room being able to keep the heat on. So I do show you examples of that. Alright, so I'll show you an example of the sensor that's in the bathroom and how to mount that sensor inside of the actual enclosure, because there is a weird way you can do it so that it doesn't interfere with any metal. Alright, so just to end the video, I wanted to kind of show you the end product. This is a different case than the version 1. I mounted it into a single outlet box. Same type though. This is as the AC-DC converter on the inside. Underneath this module, there's basic glass that separates the two. So I can't pull that out to show you what it looks like, but and then the processor, just the ESP32 sits on top of that, and this is that module. And I just basically, just hot glued it right here, and that way there's some spacing here, because this chip will get, it's not warm, but I would probably provide some air for this chip. It does get a little warm, but not too bad. And that'll give you, and see this metal right here? So it doesn't like metal as much. So just don't have it make contact to that metal. Alright, so I did want to show you, before I take off, to show you how I mounted this in here. So this is a different case than the version 1. because this is going in my bathroom. I didn't want a really big one. This is just a single outlet box, and then the front cover just goes boom like that. Okay, and I just hot melt the PIR sensor to the front. This is where I had it on the outside of the box, but it was just too strong, so I might switch this out now and make a 1-inch hole rather than a 1 1/8 inch hole, to be done in the future. So just a little bit about this sensor and how to mount it. So what you want to do is keep it at least a centimeter away from any kind of metal. So that includes this stuff right here. It does not like metal, and it will give you a weird false reading. So make sure that you provide a little bit of space there. In fact, this could have gone maybe up to about right here even. We'll see. I might have to move it up just a little bit. I would provide, if you put the hot melt glue in there, to hot melt it here. Again, hot melt is amazing for electronics because if you just try, let's say I shut this thing off and then I provide just one drop of rubbing alcohol, okay, just right in this area, it will totally release the glue and the glue will come off magically. It's an amazing product. Hot melt glue is amazing. Alright, so yeah, that's how I mounted it, and you can see how I have it hooked up to 23. So this is just the one I covered in the last video, just a much smaller one that didn't have the air quality or the light reading capabilities. It just has PIR and presence sensing in it, and that's pretty good for a bathroom in my humble opinion. And then this goes on top. You just screw it up. Yeah, I'll definitely change that cover now. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and you have a good one. I'll see you in the next weird sensor that I find on China websites. Enjoy.